Hello, welcome to a brand new Orange Dragon gaming video. As you can see, we have a logo finally. It's kind of an exciting time around here. I'm just going to keep this kind of brief, go over a couple of expanded decks because we're going to be approaching Toronto Regionals and North Carolina Regionals, which are both expanded. Those are our next couple events that are important. I only have a couple expanded decks built right now. I'm looking for input from you, the users. Kind of give me an idea of what you might want to see. This is the first deck that I kind of thought of for expanded reasons. It's Blacephalon with Volcanion EX. So we touched on Blacephalon in the first video that we did. Very powerful attack. You get to toss as many energies attached to your Pokemon, do 50 times per energy. They do get put in the Lost Zone, which means we don't get to retrieve them. But we play 15 energy. We're never really going to run out unless we're playing against, stall decks. And at that point in time, you just take the L. I think, anyway. So, Expanded brings us a couple cards that we don't normally get access to with the Blacephalon deck. Namely, Volcanion EX, it's a big partner in this deck. So, Volcanion gives us two things. It gives us a powerful ability which boosts our damage further by discarding fire energy. So, if you're familiar with this deck before, every energy that you put in the discard pile, you can retrieve with the Naganadel and charge up and put it back onto the Naganadel. So basically, steam up, toss in one energy, you get 30 plus damage. You bring a fire energy back onto the Naganadel, and you then discard it or Lost Zone it with Mind Blown. That's 80 damage. It's pretty solid. It's better than 50. So we gain, like I said, a couple of cards that we don't normally have. One of the more important ones in this deck is Scorched Earth. It's a stadium. It's very similar to Heat Factory, but it's fire or fighting energy, and it only nets you 2 cards instead of 3. So we do play one Heat Factory, but the idea with this deck is that we're not going to be using a lot of draw supporters. We're going to rely a lot on our board state as well as the stadium to give us the supplemental draw that we need. Expanded brings back the Ace Spec mechanic, which are super powerful item cards that you're only allowed to have one of in your deck. They're kind of like Prism Stars, but you can only have one Ace Spec in your deck, whereas you could theoretically fill out your deck with as many Prism Stars as you wanted. But computer search, you discard 2 cards from your hand, search your deck for any card, put it in your hand. Now, keep in mind when you play a card that lets you search for any card, you don't reveal that card. If it says a Pokemon, an energy, a trainer, supporter, whatever the case, you have to reveal it to prove that you grabbed the right card. The other big card in Expanded is VS Seeker. You put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. It's insanely powerful. Just think about it for a moment. You got a handful of supporters, you Ultra Ball a couple of them away. You're like, oh darn, I threw away my only Erica, or oh darn, I threw away my only Guzma, whatever the case may be. No, you didn't. You got VS Seekers. You got them again later in the game. The main supporter of the deck is Blacksmith. You attach 2 fire energies from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. So, again, let's say you have Blacephalon in the active with 2 energy, a Volcanion on the bench, Naganadel on the bench. You've tossed a couple, you've already used your Steam Up, you've already used your Charging Up, you still got a couple energies in there, and that other Blacephalon's empty. Cool. I'll use this Blacksmith, load him up, he's ready to go. The other 3 main supporters in the deck, besides Guzma, we do have an Acerola. Actually, there's 6 supporters in this deck, not 3. What am I talking about? 7. Math is difficult. Anyway, we do play one Acerola. That's kind of like my last card in this particular deck. It can get you out of some pinches where, like, let's say your Volcanion gets dragged active by a Guzma, and it allows you to Acerola and pick it back up after it's been damaged. Colress, one of my personal favorites. Shuffle your hand into your deck, and then draw equal number of cards to your opponents to both benches. In Expanded, there's Skyfield. The stadium expands benches to 8 spaces apiece. You could draw 16 cards. It's pretty powerful. Same thing kind of goes for Erica. You get to draw a card for each of your opponent's Pokemon in play. All of a sudden, your opponent can have 9 Pokemon in play. And you just draw them right off the top of the deck. Pretty solid. Everybody's least favorite card and most annoying thing to have happen to you. N. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck, draws a card for each of the remaining prize cards. It's the ultimate comeback card that we have in Pokemon. Let's say I get I get to jump on you. I'm up. I've taken 5 prizes. You haven't gotten anything going. You play that N. I draw 1 card. I hope it's a supporter that I can draw cards with, or I have a board state that I can already work around. Because otherwise, it's going to be a couple turns before I get anything cooking. Professor Sycamore / Juniper. They both do the same thing. They were just printed in different blocks. You discard your hand and draw 7 cards. It's my personal favorite supporter that was printed during my time that I was playing very, very actively, starting in the black and white era. Other than that, the list is kind of streamlined. It's very straightforward. We have a couple of beast rings. We don't play a 4 spot of them because we just don't have the room, and because expanded things, seemingly the games go quicker once the board states are set up. You don't necessarily get to. You might not even get a turn to use your beast ring. So we're only playing a 2 count. We play 2 nest balls. We play 3 ultra balls. We play a rescue stretcher, which is uncommon for this list for the most part. It's standard. But I like the rescue stretcher here because our Pokemon lines are thinner than I'd like. In basically every expanded deck that you can afford to, you have to play the Sudowoodo card. It prevents Zoroark from overbenching and then swinging with Zoroark to cause knockouts. So if your opponent can't have more than 4 benched Pokemon, boom, done. Let's say playing a Zoroark Execute, which specializes in filling its bench and taking one shots. They gotta do something about that Sudowoodo in order to get their bench full. Either by knocking it out or putting in Silent Lab or Garbotoxin Garbodor. They have a couple of options in that regard. So that's one deck, and like I said, there are a couple things I've been toying around with. I want to get another Poipole in here. I want to get maybe a Floatstone or a Switch or something like that in here. Or even like an Olympia or a Tate Miza, something that will let me move potentially a Stranded Volcanion out of the active. I think the couple cuts would be the Acerola. You might be able to go down on Scorched Earth. You might even be able to go down on Blacksmith. But I wouldn't go any lower than 3 VS Seeker in most every expanded deck. Another one, if you've been on Limitless and you've looked at past results, you've noticed Rayquaza took a Japanese event by storm. It was like 14 out of the top 16. Absolutely bonkers. So I'm pretty sure I straight up copied their list. I might have made like one tweak, and there's more that I will want to make in time. The engine of the deck is Ho-Oh. You put it in the discard pile with basic energies, and then once a turn before you attack, you flip a coin. If heads, you get to take the Ho-Oh out of the discard pile, put it back onto your bench with up to 3 different basic energy types. We're only running 2, so we're going to get 2 energy back. And if we're familiar with Rayquaza, we get to do 30 times per basic Grass and Lightning attached to all of our Pokemon. So we're really a fan of things like Ho-Oh that let us bring more energy onto the board quickly. Play Tapu Koko Prism Star, you get 2 free lightning energies. That part's pretty self-explanatory there. Again, the Sudowoodo is really, really strong. The Shaman Prism is very strong in this deck too. You get to do, it's basically the same attack as Rayquaza, but it's a single prize attacker, and it has free retreat. So you don't mind starting it, because then you can kind of maneuver your way into getting an attack turn 1. But same basic attack. It's 30 times per basic energy. We're only playing basic energy. So it's a very, very solid attacker. We also play 2 Shaman EX for draw support. When you bench it, you get to draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. The scary thing about Shaman right now is that it is a very easy target for Tagbolt GX and that Crobat Shaman deck that's been popping up online a little bit more and more, where people are just playing down the bats and they're picking things off. So it's if you're playing against a matchup like that, you almost need to attack with your Shaman to get it back off the board, unless you tweak around your supporter and item count in order to pick it up. So we also play a couple of battle compressors, which allow us to throw Ho-Oh and basic energy and even supporters, any card really, but those would be my 3 main targets: Ho-Oh, basic energy, and supporters into the discard pile straight out of the deck. Fully play computer search. We went over that just a moment ago with the Blacephalon deck. Max Elixir is very powerful in this deck. You get to look at the top 6 cards and attach a basic energy card you find there to a basic Pokemon on the bench. We only play basic Pokemon. We don't mind attaching to the bench because we have ways to move around. We play 2 rescue stretchers because it's really important for us to keep a streamline of Rayquazas going, as well as I've found it to be handy every once in a while that because you are going to use Stormy Winds with this deck just to accelerate more energy. So you're going to end up losing a Shaman, a Tapu Lele, maybe even your Sudowoodo at some point in time. The Stretcher allows you to grab it. Comes in handy. I love Parallel City in this deck. Both ways are, so this card obviously, it's upside down if you're looking at it this way, it's not if you're looking at it this way. Depending on which way you point the card, it has a different effect. So we're oftentimes going to point the blue side toward our opponent with this particular deck. It limits their bench down to 3 Pokemon. And this side reduces any damage outgoing, so damage from me toward the other person. It reduces grass, fire, and water types by 20 damage. So depending on what we're facing, we can turn that the other way. We can limit our bench, maybe bump off the Sudowoodo and a Shaman off of our bench if we don't need them for the matchup. And it can be effective that way. Somebody will eventually then bump that Parallel City. Hey, I'm going to register your back for that Shaman, draw some cards, and go from there. I'm not sold on this supporter line yet. I mean, I've been playing this deck for a little bit. It's solid, but I'm not sold on it yet. 1 Erica, 1 N, 3 Professor Junipers, and 3 Guzmas. I'm not sure what else I'm looking for, to be perfectly honest, but it feels a little off sometimes. We play Fighting Fury Belt as our tool card for our attacker. He gives a basic Pokemon 40 extra HP, and you do 10 more damage. The 10 more damage is it's nice, but it doesn't provide a whole lot of value. The 40 HP provides a huge amount of value. Say you're going up against Archie's Blastoise. They get that Wailord, Magikarp Wailord GX with Choice Band. They're using their Super Splash deck. That's 210. 180 plus 40 equals 220, which means we survive the attack and therefore can retaliate. It comes in handy. The 10 damage, like I said, I don't see too many instances where it would pop up and be helpful, but I'm sure it's there somewhere. Bellswell, I guess, where it's got 190 HP, so you don't have to get 6 energy on the board. With this deck, you get 7, 8 energy on the board turn 1, as long as you don't completely break. We play 2 Floatstones. Probably one of the most broken tool cards that's ever been printed. The Pokemon this card's attached to has no retreat cost. So like that goes over the top of like anything that would increase your retreat cost. So if it brings your retreat cost down to 0, you stay at 0 until something else comes into effect that would negate the tool card, which Lysander's Labs, which I don't think is being played a whole lot expanded. We play a 7/7 split of Grass and Lightning Energy. It seems like the right number. You don't really have a call for one over the other more, and it seems like a good enough number where you can hit your max elixirs often enough, even after you might have compressored away a couple or used Dance of the Ancients, something like that. And we'll kind of wrap this up with a quick Archie's Blastoise synopsis, if you will. The deck has evolved a lot since Archie's was printed. Now we have this big guy to cause all sorts of mayhem. You can use Towering Splash GX with the 8 energy attached to it overall to wipe your opponent's bench off. That's insane to me. Volcanion Prism Star is a very good single prize attacker with a really nice amount of HP, a really solid ability that forces your opponent to move their active Pokemon away, and then you get a little bit of spread, which can come in handy with the Wailord. Pretty solid attacker. We do play 1 Giratina from Lost Thunder, just for its ability, and just for potentially comboing it with Towering Splash GX to take out these guys. Giratina, Distortion Door, put the damage counters on Shamans, get that Towering Splash GX juiced, let it rip, free prizes. Can't beat that. Execute one of the busted cards of Expanded. You get to, if it's in your discard pile, you can put it back in your hand. And it says once during your turn before you attack, you can throw Execute as many times from your hand and put it back from your hand, from the discard pile in your hand as many times as you want during your turn. Because as soon as it becomes part of your hand, it becomes private knowledge, and it's a brand new Execute. So there's no way to officially track it. It's kind of convoluted, but that's how the game is played. Blastoise is the straw that stirs this drink. As often as you like during your turn before you attack, you may attach a water energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. Translation, attach every single water energy you want from your hand to your Pokemon. That's what makes the deck go. That's how you can attach 8 energies on turn 1 and wipe your opponent's bench. The other attacker we play in this deck is Kingdra GX. It's a stage 2, we don't play any of the pre-evolution, so we also need to Archies for this. You do 10 plus 50 for each water energy attached to it, so you can hit some pretty ridiculous numbers. And then, if the situation calls for it, you can use Maelstrom GX. I don't see how Maelstrom GX is going to pop up a whole lot often to be truly effective, but it's an option, it's there. So, the whole point of the deck is to use Archie's Ace in the Hole to get your Blastoise down onto the board. You can only play it if it's the last card in your hand. You get to put a water Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench and draw 5 cards. Notice how it just says water Pokemon. It doesn't say basic, stage 1, stage 2, break, EX, GX, any of that. It just is a water Pokemon. So that's how we can get Blastoise down on the board right away, start causing mayhem. Now, the problem with that is it has to be the last card in your hand. So you need to be able to play a bunch of cards that discard cards from your hand, that put stuff, that search out specific cards, do all that kind of fun stuff. So we play 4 Battle Compressors to help thin the deck out, and just, again, because you can just throw cards away. The one of Field Blower is kind of iffy, but if your opponent plays down Silent Lab before your turn, you kind of can't get going unless you just have the God Hand of just pure stuff that you can play down. Because you're probably going to need to use the Tapu Lele or Shaman to draw some cards in order to get to the Archies, being able to play the Archies. We play 4 Order Pad, which flip a coin if heads, search your deck for an item card. Comes in handy because sometimes you need to grab an Ultra Ball, sometimes you need to grab that compressor, whatever the case may be. Play 4 Trainer's Mail, another great old expanded card. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Take any trainer card you find there that's not named Trainer's Mail and put in your hand. Very solid, allows you to dig a little deeper, find some more pieces. Play 4 VS Seeker, 4 Ultra Ball, the one of Silent Lab I touched on already, and then an incredibly thin line of supporters. We have to play a thin line of supporters because if we play too many, we have to throw them away, or we just get caught with 2 supporters in hand and we can't use the Archies. We play 11 Water Energy, seems to be the right amount. We also play 4 Superior Energy Retrievals, which discard 2 cards from your hand, put 4 basic energy cards from the discard pile back into our hand. We play 2 Choice Bands for damage modification. It comes in handy for a few different reasons. One thing that newer players that are just grabbing onto this deck are going to want to remember is, again, you can use this Execute's ability as many times during your turn as you possibly want. So if you are stuck with a hand that's like Ultra Ball, Fisherman, Archie's Ace in the Hole, but you're like, oh cool, I have my Blastoise in the discard pile. Oh, but I'm gonna have to throw it away. No, grab 1 Execute, throw that away, throw the Fisherman away, grab Volcanion, Prism Star, whatever the case may be, bench it, play your Archies, get your Blastoise down the board, draw your 5 cards, go from there. So just, you got to remember that Execute is your friend. It allows you to manipulate your hand size, which lets you go back and forth. Like, oh, I need to toss this and this away, or, man, I really need to play this Ultra Ball, but I got nothing in my hand. Oh, hey, I got 2 Executes in the discard pile. Grab them, toss them, go from there. And the last thing I'll leave y'all with for now is, so far, our interpretation of where Pikachu Zekrom needs to be for expanded. And there's a couple card counts in here, again, not 100% sure on. It's been tested, but tested lightly to this point. We're playing 2 Shaman EX, playing 3 Pikachu Zekrom GX, Koko Prism Star. I still like the Tapu Koko GX in here. Some people have been taking it out. I like it. Tapu Thunder GX is just too darn good against certain decks, including the Mirror Match. Because you can use that Koko to punish your opponent for getting too many energy on the board. Zeraora is for free retreat. I don't think you're ever going to attack with it and expand it. I just don't see it being the case. We play 1 Tapu Lele GX. We play 2 Shaman EX. I also have a Marshadow in here for the Mirror Match. Marshadow GX, I should say. Because you can copy ability or attacks of basic Pokemon in your discard pile. We play 2 Battle Compressors to help us put a couple Lightning Energy in the discard pile right away in order to use Tapu Koko Prism Star, as well as tossing supporters in there, because you can always retrieve them with the Versus Seekers. Let's see here. Computer Search we've gone over. Electric Power is a card for this deck that you do 30 more damage with Lightning Pokemon. It's just, it makes this card so much better in so many different ways. It's quite silly. We're only playing 3 Energy Switch in this deck. it seems to be fine in an expanded format because you're drawing, on average, more cards than you normally would in a standard deck. Playing 4 max elixirs to just help us hit some energy right away. A Super Rod. Super Rod is important because you want to, let's say you have to throw away too many lightning energy early in the game. You don't want to full blitz hoping to set up your second Pikachu Zekrom to only find 1 energy in there. So use the Super Rod to put energy back. Play 3 Trainer's Mails to help us dig a little bit. Typical 4 Ultra Ball, 4 VS Seeker. We played 2 stadiums. We played Thunder Mountain, which makes lightning Pokemon's attack cost them 1 lightning less. So it means you start full blitzing for 2 as opposed to 3. We also play a Silent Lab. The Silent Lab, you turn off every basic Pokemon's ability. It's pretty sick. And expanded, it's real sick. You shut off the Marshadow, you shut off the Coco Prism Star, you shut off Zora, Lele, Coco GX, Shamans, Mr. Mimes. There's probably half a dozen other things I just can't think of right now because expanded such a huge, wide open format. Supporters, 1 Acerola, 1 Chorus, 1 Erica's Hospitality, 2 Guzmas, 2 Junipers, / Sycamores, depending on who you like better, and then 1 Skyla. The Skyla was an inclusion that was brought to my attention yesterday. Skyla is really powerful. Turn 1, let's say you hit an energy, like Pikachu Zekrom, you're able to energy switch another one on there. You're like, oh darn, I don't have another energy switch. I don't have Thunder Mountain. You can grab Thunder Mountain with Skyla. It just says trainer cards. It's like Volkner, but you don't grab the lightning energy. But I'd almost rather have this because I can also grab a supporter for next turn if I really, really need to. So that card in and of itself makes turn 1 full blitz that much easier. We're playing 2 choice bands for damage modification, and we're playing 12 basic lightnings. One thought that we've had is Flash Energy or Weakness Policy or both or none. Flash Energy is a special lightning energy that when it's attached to a lightning type Pokemon, it has no weakness. And then Weakness Policy is a tool card that when the Pokemon it's attached to has no weakness. The reason we're thinking this is fighting should be absolutely enormous, especially with all the hype behind Pikarom. It should be huge. So we need some kind of way to counteract it. We can only count on our speed so much to blow past them. Especially when things like Lucario and Lycanroc attack so efficiently for 1 or 2 energy and it can just knock us out. So that's something that's to be played around with, and we gotta work on this a little bit more and try to figure out where the cuts may lie, what's truly necessary. Are there other things to do to beat the mirror? How does this handle against item lock? Things like that, because Seismitoad and Zoroark are going to be things, and they are going to be irritating to deal with for a lot of people. That being said, we're not going to do any gameplay for this video. This is more of just a general primer on a couple different decks, a couple home brews, if you will. Just trying to see how things in Expanded could shape up. We'll come back next video with probably a couple Zoroark variants, as well as a Seismitoad variant. I think Seismitoad still stands a very good chance in the Expanded format, even with all the bans that have happened. So, that being said, hope you guys liked the logo. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm real fired up about it. And yeah, just check out all of our social media. We're on Twitch, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, obviously. And if you have anything you want to say, leave it in the comments. Shoot us an email, send us a Facebook message. We're still learning Twitter, so I prefer that you send us messages to the other stuff. That being said, it's Orange Dragon Gaming. Take it easy.